Hello everybody and welcome back to another video game analysis. And one of my favorite parts about doing this is posing questions. More about the circumstances around the real world of gaming, and I want to discuss two of the most iconic characters in Nintendo's universe. One being Mario and the other being Link. Now, Mario has proven to be the face of Nintendo, arguably the face of video games itself. And it made me wonder, did it really have to do with the placement the Mario game was put in? Because Super Mario Bros. Is a fantastic game. The original Mario Bros. Arcade was fun, the Donkey Kong series was really fun, and its place... It's done a lot of things that were really good. It really drove the momentum for gaming, especially for home consoles, and it made you think... Link came a year later, yet these games were being developed around the same time. And this is a constant trend for Zelda games, and it made me think, if The Legend of Zelda came before Mario, would Link be the face of Nintendo, and arguably the face of gaming? It's something to think about, and that's what I want to discuss today. The history around Mario and Link is they're always very closely related to each other. A lot of the major releases are usually developed around the same time. There's no exception today. As far as we know at the time of this recording, there has been announced that a 3D Mario game is in the works. And we do know that Zelda U is definitely in the works, so this trend is still going on. And another trend that's still going on is the fact that each of these games reference each other. And it really does illustrate how close of a relationship Mario and Zelda have to each other. They are both Nintendo's most popular franchises that nobody can deny have made a great impact in the gaming world. And here we are, is a good example right here. Mario gets to see Link hanging out, and of course it doesn't stop with Zelda being referenced in Mario. We also have the vice versa too, starting in Ocarina of Time, I would say. I might be wrong. There might be other games I might be not thinking of, but you know. Even direct characters in the Mario, in the Zelda universe have been depicted of Mario, and clearly we have a very, very linked relationship between these two franchises, and I understand. They're the first two major franchises to hit Nintendo consoles that made such a big impact on both gaming and Nintendo. And they're still the most popular and recognized franchises to this day, even though Link is always called Zelda. But the point that I just want to get across is these are very closely related franchises because they're usually developed around the same time. They usually work off of each other, as we can see, and we see that there's a big thing where these two are Nintendo's biggest icons, and both of them usually come out around the same time. So I wanted to instill the relationship between these franchises first. Now we can go on to something a little more clear. The original Super Mario Bros. Game came out in 1985, while the original Legend of Zelda game came out in 1986. The original Zelda game was actually made to be a opposite project towards Mario, where Mario, you have clear linear travel. You have a clear destination and goal. Legend of Zelda, however, even though you do have that goal and the destination, you have to figure out how to get there. There's a lot of free roaming, and these games are very different. They were made that way. Miyamoto made sure of that. Where Miyamoto wanted to make sure that Mario was a character he can bring in a lot of games, which he has done, and other than his main series, which has been done. And a lot of people don't like that, but, it's always been the main purpose. And the Legend of Zelda series is proven to be a little more carefully treated because it's a little more complicated of a game. And either way, since they were made to be very different projects for the sake of variety in the gaming world, you still wonder, would Link, if Link came before Mario, would Link be the guy in the big cheese, you know? And all I can think of is possibly both of these characters have such a great following, both have a very defined fan base, and both of these franchises will probably go on for years to come. So it's worth wondering, I would say. So between the popularity, the relevance of these two franchises, and the fact that they're always so closely related to each other, uh, it makes you wonder: would it make a difference if Link came first or not? And is it because Mario was a launch title star for this console that brought people's eyes to gaming again? Because this was after the video game crash of '83, and Nintendo was shown to show that off. They wanted to say, "Hey, we should get into this market and we should bring it back gaming, and we need something that'll bring gaming back because the arcades are holding strong, but we want that home console market, which they have succeeded in." And The Legend of Zelda being made based off the idea of exploration, as well as finding out, solving dungeons and whatnot, inspired by the Famicom disk drive. And then Mario, which introduced a lot of new ideas towards level design and levels in general. I just put this footage up to show that there is it's still a continuing trend that reference different games and whatnot. Also, these games can work off each other. When Super Mario 64 was introduced, a lot of the developers said they had inspirations from Ocarina of Time, where Mario would solve puzzles and explore through terrain, because this is his first 3D Mario game. Take note of that treasure chest for a second there. I just want to make a little visual representation of what I'm talking about here. And then we have the same idea in Mario 64. I think it's pretty cool. So I just want that point straight up. These are very close related franchises in terms of popularity, design, um, legacies, because both these continue to modernize and innovate how the gaming world works. And though we have, though is a very argumental thing, because you never know. I mean, thousands of possibilities can happen. But Mario was the first face we saw in a revival of home gaming consoles. And when we saw, and when gamers saw this, their excitement grew, and everyone owned a Nintendo or an NES, as we know now. And with that what if Link was the first face we saw? Because that's something that attracts people. Ultimately, I thought about this a lot, and I came up with the answer before this video was even made, and of course, then I won't have an ending for you. No, I think Mario would still be the face of Nintendo, even if Link came before him. And the reason why is because it's like I said very briefly in a past bit. Mario is a simpler game to understand, and though. And arguably, I would say The Legend of Zelda would be less popular because Mario didn't introduce or gradually bring gamers into the situation. Because a lot of people I hear don't like the first Legend of Zelda game, and I, for one, do. I really do enjoy the game. I bet if I grew up with the game, I would like it a lot more. I got into it much later than many people. And I do have on my 3DS. I have an NES copy. I have a copy on the GameCube and whatnot. And I was thinking about that a lot, and I do love it. I think it is a very well made game. It's very fun, and I mean I would prefer having a map, which but and a lot of people But that being said, I understand why a lot of people complain about the game, and maybe without Mario, arguably we wouldn't have Link's success. But that being said as well, I ultimately think the other side can be true, where Link can still be seen as an awesome game, because we still haven't seen this kind of stuff yet. It reminds me of like games like Adventure on the Atari 2600, or any game that involves exploring, that going through different screens. It's the same idea, except Zelda has more of this fancy scrolling method with their screens as you go from up, down, left, right, and whatnot. But That being said as well, I just ultimately side with the fact that since Mario is a simpler game and an easier way to introduce people to a more modern for 85 console or gaming experience, there you go. Because Mario and Zelda are both games you can't have on an arcade game machine because they're very long games. And it's not the kind of game you want to keep popping quarters in when you lose because there's a lot to do. It's very long. I mean, Super Mario Bros. If you chop it down maybe 3 worlds, you can arguably make an arcade machine, but that was the purpose. These big games both showed that home consoles provide something different than what arcade machines can do. Rather, when the Atari 2600 came out, when the purpose was to play arcade games at your home. So yeah, let's just wrap this up. Again, this is probably very argumental, and I've been juggling between those two possibilities because anything can happen. I remember when I took statistics class in college. Oh boy, that was the hardest R&D I ever got. But I remember something my professor said I never forgot. He said, "Look, I know we're studying this, but I'm just gonna tell you, anything can happen. You can get heads on a coin 50 times, even though statistics doesn't allow it. So that's why I was juggling between two ideas of which, if Link came first, would he be the face of Nintendo? And no, do we know? I don't think so, and because each possibility is very true, but I think ultimately because Mario is a simpler game to understand, and it's a better introduction to home gaming, I think that's just a much better way to analyze the situation, and I think it's a much better possibility. Nintendo probably could have put Zelda before Mario, but that's not very possible either, considering Mario had to be our launch title. You had, you had Rob the Robot too, but that wasn't enough that wouldn't be enough to hold game was over. I think even Nintendo knew that. And Rob the Robot's very elusive, and as far as my knowledge goes, it's probably only available. I think it was only available in New York and Japan. I don't know. It's just a big, hairy situation, I guess. But yeah, that's just how it is. So that's that. That's just how I feel about the question. It was something I was thinking about for a while until it just hit me. There's a reason Super Mario Bros. Made a launch game for the first 3 generations of Nintendo consoles, and the GameCube was the exception, being Luigi's Mansion, and then the Wii. I don't even know if that. No, it didn't. I don't think it did. I don't even know what the. I think the Twilight Princess was more of the big launch game for the Wii, and we had Wii Sports too as a pack-in title, and then the Wii U opened up with the new Super Mario Brothers U, so the trend's probably going to continue again, but there's a reason for it. You want to introduce Mario's just the perfect person to introduce the capabilities of hardware because he is more simple of a game in design and plot and characterization. You don't have to go crazy, and I like that. I think that's very good, and I think that's where Mario's charm came from. It's all about the games and what they're capable of doing. Zelda is another spectrum of that, which is why it also is a big part of Nintendo, where you have characterization and heavier plot, and you have exploration, you have more mystery, and that's good too. It just shows how big of a spectrum you can have in good game design and whatnot, and I think that's really good. I think it's great that Nintendo got those two franchises to show that very early in Nintendo's home console business. So that's why the question arose. Which Link is a very close second to Mario in terms of being the face of Nintendo, and that's what made me think. What if Link came first? And ultimately, since it's a more complicated game, I still think it would be a popular game. I still think it would be very cool because it's not something we've never seen before with games like Adventure on the Atari 2600 or other Atari 2600 games that even the Indiana Jones games on the 2600. Because it involved that idea, but this time it was a lot more advanced, a lot more organized, a lot more thought out, and a lot more complex. So it's just a discussion on complexity. It's really good that Nintendo got that out of the way then, and it paved the road for a lot of Nintendo franchises to come and introduce something within the spectrum between Mario and Link. that's their importance, and they're very closely related franchises, despite being different parts of a gaming spectrum. And I think that's fantastic. So I want to kind of continue with this idea because next time I'm going to analyze Super Smash Brothers series. Why on earth is it so popular? This topic has been talked about a lot, but I just want to put my own 2 cents into it. Where it's Smash Brothers, come on, I had to get to it sometime. So until then, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. If there's anything I missed, if there's any incorrect information I given, if there's anything you would like to add to enhance the conversation, if there's anything you just want to say, please leave a comment. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Billy, your video game analyzer. Have a good day, good night, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.